This is the Sheff United Way, and today we are trying to find out the answer to a very key but very, very difficult question. It's important, it's setting us up. We've got 5 days to try and figure this out. Ladies and gentlemen, how do you beat Leeds United?
Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole, ole.
Yes, so after their victory against Sunderland on Monday night, Leeds have lost just 3 of their 33 league games so far this season. Their last defeat came on November the 30th against Blackburn Rovers, and they haven't lost in their last 15 league games. It may sound a little bit defeatist to be looking at the video this way, but to be honest, Leeds are just the best team in the Championship so far this season. They're top of every metric in terms of chance creation and goals scored, but they also have the best defensive underlying numbers. And I would say, other than the goalkeeper, they've got one of the best 2, one of the best 3 players in the division in every single position. But that's not to be overly defeatist, and that's not to say that United don't stand a chance in this game. So let's look into what do United do well. Then we'll look into what has happened in Leeds' other games and how have other teams beat them. And then we'll go into, so what does that mean and what do United need to do in order to be able to win this massive, massive game on Monday night. So we'll kick off with what do United do well? And, you know, we've just taken all of that. We've done the introduction to say how great Leeds are, how they're probably the best team in the Championship. But you know what? United on the pitch have earned as many points as Leeds have so far this season. United have actually won more games of football in the Championship than Leeds have. So one thing we can definitely do is focus on our metrics and how we can hurt Leeds. Because the way that we set up against Middlesbrough, for example, that had a dynamic midfield where we were controlling the game both defensively and with the ball. We had the perfect mix of a defensive destroyer and a progressive passer taking us forward through midfield. It meant that we got 𝗍𝗲 with freedom to do what he does best. And while Leeds might have got the best players in every position or one of the best players in every position, they haven't got 𝗍𝗲, and they would have absolutely loved to sign him in the summer. But that's because he is probably the best individual player in the Championship, and I will stand by that position. So if we can get him on the ball, doing what he does best in the way we did against Middlesbrough, United can create chances at will, and we can really, really hurt teams. Of course, there is a question mark over whether 𝗍𝗲 is going to be fit for this game, but we have to hope and pray that he can, because when we're focusing on what Sheffield United do well, 𝗍𝗲 is very generally right at the centre of that conversation. In that game against Middlesbrough, we had 18 shots, 9 on target. These are the kind of numbers that would see United beat any team in the Championship. And especially given Leeds' goalkeeper situation, if you have that many shots against Leeds, the odds are you're going to score a fair number of goals, because there is no way he's keeping out that many shots on target. But if we're being honest, Middlesbrough is very much the outlier in terms of recent performances from Sheffield United. So in terms of when we're not playing at that level and when we're not as good as we were against Borough, what do United do really well? Well, look, when we're not on it, we still win games of football, and we win games of football very, very consistently, because we showed against Portsmouth, against Derby, against Luton that whether it's luck, whether it's talent, whether it's judgment, whatever we want to call it, United can stick in games when the going gets tough. And when we don't have everything going our way, we have the mentality to just accept it, to battle against what is happening to us, to say it's not going right, but we're not giving you anything easy. We're not going to concede goals. We're going to ride out this storm. We also saw against Luton and against Portsmouth that we have changes now off the bench that show what a difference January has made for Sheffield United. Because pre-Christmas, we were all saying it's the first 11 or bust. We can now change games from the bench. We can change our system, as we saw against Luton. We can change the way that we work within the same system, as we saw against Portsmouth, where we brought 𝗍𝗫 on, and we completely changed the way that we were playing through our midfield. We have game changers on our bench, and that is massive, and that makes a huge difference in a game like this, because it might be that we start against Leeds and they start to get on top of us, or they dominate parts of this game. But we know that we can make those changes off the bench, that we can then go and hurt Leeds. It's not going to be all their own way. It's not always going to be the way that they want it. Now, of course, that's all well and good. United can play fantastically the way we did against Borough and we can beat anybody, or we can play rubbish but we can stick in games. We've got the defensive solidity and the belief in our way of playing and what we're doing that we can keep the poorer teams out when they're attacking us. But now we have to think about, will that work against Leeds? And we have to look back a little bit at what has worked against Leeds so far this season. So I've gone away and I've looked at what their defeats are. So they've lost 3 games so far this season in the Championship, and there is one common denominator that goes through all of them, and that's possession. When Leeds have loads and loads and loads of possession, they generally speaking struggle to win those games. They lost 1-0 to Burnley, they had 71% possession. They lost 1-0 away at Millwall. They had 76% of possession. They lost 1-0 away at Blackburn. They had 72% of possession. Now, across the season, as an average, Leeds have 61% possession. So it is so noticeable how much more of the ball Leeds have had in these games where they've been defeated and how it's actually made them less successful. They've been slower. They've not been able to find the space. And the teams against them have packed their defence and said, you can have the ball, but you're having it in places that don't hurt us. You're having it in your own half. You're having it in the centre of the pitch. We're not letting you get it to our dangerous wingers. We're not letting you get it into our box. And that is so important. And that may well be how United want to look to try and attack this game. Because like we've gone through already, we've proved against Borough that we can mix it, but Leeds win games when teams come and mix it. We saw that on Monday night. We saw Sunderland come to Ellen Road. They were absolutely fantastic. For 45 minutes, they were much the better side. They had Leeds on the ropes. They were going at them. They'd taken the lead. And they were just able to keep up that pressure for about an hour. And as soon as they backed off, as soon as they didn't pack their defence, they said, we want to play, but we're tired. We're not on it. We're not at our absolute best. Leeds hurt you. They can hurt you. They will hurt you every single time in that kind of game. So maybe that shouldn't be the plan. Maybe the plan should be 𝗬𝗲𝗄𝗏, 𝗚𝗿𝗲 and 𝗵𝗏 in a 3-man midfield, which is designed to frustrate and limit the space that Leeds are able to play in. We limit their creativity. We say to them, have the ball, but don't come anywhere near us. We say to them that if you're as good as we're all thinking you are, as you're telling us that you are, come and beat us. We'll do nothing against you. We'll sit in, we'll defend. Come and beat us. Can you break us down? Can you do that? And we can also hurt them so well in terms of our transitions. We can use Campbell, we can use 𝗍𝗏, we can use 𝗲𝗏, and we can get in behind them. If they're going to come and play, let's leave our wingers high and try and get pace on the counter, because that exposes their weaknesses. Their fullbacks are going to come forward. They're going to be trying to get in and join the attacks to double up on the fullbacks. So if we can stay behind them, we can get in behind them. That's where United are going to have their best chance to score goals and win this game. It's also going to be something that we've not done this season, but we have to do better, and we particularly have to do in this game, is set pieces. You've got to get your set pieces right. Their goalkeeper comes and he flaps, and he doesn't know what to do. He can't control his box. He panics as soon as there's a big man and there's a ball right on top of him. So we've got to get those corners. We've got to get free kicks in dangerous positions, and we've got to just float it right on top of 𝗿𝗏𝗍 and make this horrible for him. The crowd have got to be on his back. The players have got to be on his back. We've got to force him to make those mistakes that we know he is capable of making. Now, that might sound familiar, and you might all think, isn't that what we tried to do at Ellen Road and it was just embarrassing and we got battered? Maybe it was. But to be honest, looking back at the stats, looking at what's happened this season, that might be the only way to beat Leeds. They've lost 5 games in all competitions. They've lost 3 in the Championship. They've also lost in the League Cup and in the FA Cup. They've not scored a goal in any game that they've lost. Whenever they score a goal, they either win or draw. So you've got to keep them to 0. You've got to keep them out. You've got to stop them scoring. And so that might be United's best way of doing it. So we know how United have played. We know how Leeds have lost games in the past. What can United learn from this? How can we actually take it forward? And I think the only answer to that question is that how do you beat Leeds United? You beat them with a defence that is strong. You absolutely pack the space. You don't give them the opportunity to create easy chances. You make sure that you have your back door shut, for want of a better phrase, and you frustrate the hell out of them. And as they get more and more and more frustrated, you hit them on the counter, you use your pace, and you force mistakes out of the goalkeeper, because they concede a lot of goals because of mistakes from the goalkeeper. So what that looks like on Monday night, I wouldn't be shocked to see a change to United's centre-back pairing, 𝗿𝗏𝗏 and Jack Robinson. Leeds are the most creative team in the league. They've scored 18 more goals than anybody else. They've scored 21 more goals than United. And so we've got to find a way to have that solid defence. I thought when Rob Holding came on against Luton, he was outstanding. I thought it was mainly, though, we had somebody who was calm, who was controlled. Whenever the ball came to him, whenever they were trying to get at him, they were trying to make him flustered. We didn't let them do that. We had somebody there who was always willing to just take a breath, calm everything down. That's going to be crucial on Monday night. We need his organisation. We need that mentality of just being patient, of just being cool. We also need our fullbacks to be really organised and to limit any space or opportunities that are coming down the wings. We saw against Luton and Portsmouth that it was too easy to get balls in our box. They could get down the wing, they could whip them in. Now Leeds have got incredible options playing on the wing. And they've also got fantastic fullbacks who are going to get forward and try and cause those problems. I wondered if this could be the perfect game for 𝗤𝗍𝗲𝗕. It's going to be defensive, backs to the wall. We know that's where he thrives. It's what he's best at. So I'd be tempted to take advantage, get Gilchrist in at right back, Holding in at centre back, and just have a little bit of a tweak to how we've had that defensive structure just to make us a little bit more solid. Let's sacrifice some of our attacking intent to make sure that they're not going to score against us. In terms of the wingers, there's two options for what we can do here. We know their fullbacks are going to come forward. So I've just said we've got to hit them on the counter. You've got to get in behind them. You've got to have that pace. And of course, for me, I think that's probably the best way that you counter them, because what else that does is it gives you the opportunity to counter, but it means their fullbacks can't fully commit. If you're 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and you're trying to charge down the right wing, but you see 𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 stood 10 yards behind you towards your goal with half a pitch to run into and all the time in the world, you're going to just pause a second. You're going to look back and think, I can't just leave him. So you've got that in the back of their minds. It gives us the opportunity to create. I think that's the right way to go. There is another option. You can also pack your defence even more. You could play defensive-minded wingers, maybe Andre Brooks for his work rate, and you say to him, actually, your entire job is to stop 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. You chase him back. You don't give him space. You don't give him time. You follow him all the way. It sacrifices more of that attacking intent, but it might make us more solid. I think there's going to be a really interesting decision to be made there by Wilder on how we want to counter that attack coming down both of the wings. Now, the other difficulty that's going to come is the way that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 plays. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is their starting centre forward, scored a lot of goals so far this season, but he's not a box striker. He's somebody who's going to drop deep into the 10. He's going to be trying to drag the centre halves out of position to make space for runners from deep. He's definitely going to want to try and pick up the ball between the midfield and the defence. So the role of 𝗍𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, 𝗍𝗍𝗏, Hamza Chowdhury, whoever it's going to be, is going to be absolutely crucial because they've got to pick up that run. When 𝗞𝗏 comes to drop in, you can't have your centre-half follow him into midfield because the gap that opens up means that Brendan Aronson or Dan James with his pace cause you all kinds of problems. You see Leeds score goals like that all the time. For this game, I'd pack that midfield. We've talked about the defensive changes. I'd also make changes to the midfield. I'd start with Chowdhury, Souza and Peck, all three of them, people who are organised, who know what their defensive role is going to be, but give us the direct counter to exactly how 𝗞𝗏 is going to drop in and how they're going to look to build their attacks. The other one for me that I think is crucial is I think that Callum O'Hare has to start this game and he has to be given a job of whenever Ayo Tanaka has the ball, you press him like hell. You use him as your trigger. Every time the pass is into him, you charge him down. You don't give him space. You don't give him time on the ball because he is somebody who is capable of hurting teams from deep. If anyone's going to create it from inside their own half, who's going to pick those passes, who's going to drive them forward, Tanaka is that man. And so having somebody like Callum O'Hare who's got the legs to just run and run and run all day, that's going to be absolutely crucial. At centre forward, this is going to be a miserable job for me. I don't think we're going to have that much of the ball. I don't think it's going to be that creative. So your job is just to press. Organise and press. We're not going to have, when they're not threatening, they're not looking to come forward, sit back, let them pass it around the defence. We know that they're not hurting teams. We know that that's where they're at their most uncomfortable, when they're just passing it around defence and they're not able to get forward. So let them do that. But make sure there's no easy passing lanes into midfield. And as soon as they look like they're going to try and bring the ball forward, that's when you've got to go. You've got to stop the space, make sure there's no easy passes out of defence, and make sure that it's just not comfortable. Because that's the only way we're going to really cause them problems is by making it uncomfortable for them when they've got the ball and when they're trying to come forward. Make it just boring and let them pass and pass until they want to come forward, and then you stop them, you tell them to start again, make them go backwards. So that's how I think you've got to approach this game. It's going to be a horrible watch, an absolute battle, but it is winnable. Leeds drop points in their away games. The reason that they're not running away with this league is that they've dropped points in 9 of their 16 away games so far this season because teams have packed up. They've said, come and try and beat us. And they've really struggled at always being able to break that down. So what you've got to do, pack your defence, counter them with speed, and most importantly, counter them with quality, because that's how you've got to play this game, because that is the answer. That is how you beat Leeds United. But that's enough from me. Let us know how you think United should approach this game. Let us know in the comments. Do you think it should be handbrake on, defence first, cede possession and just frustrate them until we can get them on the counter? Or do you think we need to just play our way? Do you want to see United do what we did against Middlesbrough? Go out there and try and dominate this game of football? Do you want me to shut up talking about how Leeds are the best team in this division and us to prove over 90 minutes that we can beat them at their own game by dominating this game of football? You tell us in the comments. Let us know how you think this game's going to go, how you would approach it if you were Chris Wilder. And most importantly, let us know how excited you are for the biggest game of the season on Monday night. Thank you so much for watching this with me. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I hope we can all get through the nerves, because I think it's going to be a big build-up before Monday, I think, and my tummy's already feeling it just a little bit.
Ole, ole, ole.